How are we going to spend it? Well, I think the most important part of this is 25% of the money will go directly into bursaries. Now, what that is meant to achieve is anybody who's in bursary need now to stay in school, with the increase in bursaries, you should be basically, it should be solved for you. In other words, if you've got big need now, the increased bursary should cover off the increase in tuition fees. Right? And this represents a significant increase in bursaries. We should hope to have more bursary money. Now, what that does mean is if you can afford to pay more, you will pay more. If you can't afford to pay more, you should be getting help. We're going to spend about a quarter of the money for academic positions. We currently have 5 positions on hold. As 5 positions we won't fill this year. If we got this raise in tuition, we would fill those 5 positions plus 3 additional ones. So we should get 8 positions, which will help us address our sessional problem and also give us more electives in your various programs. We will have increased teaching assistants. We'll bring it back up to level and add some more money into it. We will increase the lab upgrades. We should be spending about $400,000 a year. Currently, the budget we've got about $325,000, so it's roughly $100,000 more. And $200,000 will go directly into our operating expenses, where we've got a real efficiency. This is how we intend to spend $2 million that we make for the increased tuition. And I want to emphasize, we are trying very hard to not impact students who basically can't afford to come to school now because they need bursary money. We're trying very hard to make sure that those people aren't. Okay, so in order to be successful, we need 5 criteria fulfilled. The province has set 5 criteria. The first one is accessibility. We currently give out $60,000 in bursary money. The proposal would add $250,000 to that, with $310,000. If we assume, for example, that the current students get $60,000, if it costs $60,000 more to cover their increased tuition, then the total for students who currently need be $120,000. We should have almost $200,000 additional money to address other students in need. One of the reasons that this number is only $60,000 is because we don't have the bursary money to give to students. So we hope to actually increase accessibility as opposed to effectiveness. The labor market's extremely strong for engineering. You couldn't be in the program at a better time. I can tell you that right now. There's jobs in Manitoba. There's lots of opportunities. If you're interested in going to places like Alberta or Ontario, there's huge opportunities. And so the market for engineering is extremely strong right now. So you should have no problem getting jobs once you get out. And the money is getting pretty good too. Starting salaries in Manitoba are now in the $40,000 to $45,000. If you graduate 2 or 3 years from now, I expect that to be significantly higher. Shell and Canadian Natural Resources were on campus recruiting last week. Both of them are starting engineers in Alberta between $62,000 and $65,000 a year, which is pretty good if you're 22 years old. It's good. A lot better than when I started, when the salary was $6,900 a year. So the prospects are good for jobs, and the money is very good for. And one of the conditions is we must remain competitive with other schools in the region. So what we did is we looked at this. These are the program costs per credit hour of schools in Canada. We had 2 schools in Ontario, which are very high. These are the schools in Western Canada we basically compete with. Manitoba's at about $104, and these are significantly higher. Now, part of the problem is these are very confused by the definition of a credit hour. Our credit hours, we have 3, 4, and 5 credit hour courses in engineering. The rest of the university most of them have 3 credit hour courses only. Well, some other faculties have 4, and they have 1, 2s also in some faculties. And different schools have different definitions. Some have the same as we do, that is, they have 3, 3.5, 4 credit hour courses. Some of them only have 3 credit hour courses. But regardless of how you look at it, what we're looking at here is we don't use BC as an example because BC is on a very rapid increase. They've gone up 80% in the last 4 years, and we expect another significant jump this year. But if we compare ourselves with Regina, for example, it's a $52 difference. If we consider ourselves with Saskatchewan, which is the one we normally compare with, it's a $61 difference. We're asking basically for a $40 increase. And if you do the math, no matter how you do the math, at $40 we're still below, we'll still have the cheapest tuition in Western Canada. Right? with the possible effect, we don't know what British Columbia does. But even $40 a credit hour, we don't even get to where British Columbia is. And we know that fees in other schools will likely increase. There are semi-tuition freezes in some provinces, but one way or another, tuition fees are going up. So we think that we would still be very competitive on a per credit hour fee. And the fifth condition is a referendum that students have to approve, have to agree with the tuition increases. I don't like the word approve, but you certainly have to agree with it. So the potential revenue, we teach about 25,000 student credit hours a year. And these are the actual numbers over the last couple of years. That's 2002, 2003 at the bottom. It went from about 23 to about 25, so we use 25 as a planning number. Which, and this is the department breakdown, this is how many copies from the program. Now, these fees in biosystems go to the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences. If we increase those funds, the plan is to have them come back to the Department of Biosystems Engineering, not to the Faculty of Agriculture. So $40 a credit hour grade is about $1 million. So that's the first thing we're looking at. But we're also looking at approaching the government to fund the true cost of our programs. Okay? So we're very active with policy and the government itself to try and get funding directly to actually address all of our problems. Because $1 million doesn't solve all our problems. That's not the total size of our problem. Our problem is at least two to 2.5 times larger than that, or as large as that. Now, when we look at our funding, we have something also called the IEEQ program. This is a program where we take internationally educated engineers and we get them qualifications to practice in Canada. Part of our ask would include the money to do that program, and I'll show you how that breaks out in a second. We've gone through a very detailed process to look at what we need. And the bottom line is the faculty is underfunded by about $3.5 million. But that money is basically the IEEQ money. So if you actually look, if we didn't have the IEEQ program, we're a deficit of about $2.3 million or so. That's what we really need to offer the programs the way they should be offered. And what we're basically asking students for is $1 million. But remember, $250,000 of that goes into scholarships. So we're really asking for an increase of about $750,000 the province for that total amount. And I know one of the questions I'm always asked is, if they give us that amount, do we still have a tuition increase? And the answer is no. If they give us the money we need to run the faculty we want, then we have the best of all worlds. We're properly funded, and we have the lowest fees in Western Canada, or in Canada. Oh, not quite in Canada, but in Western Canada. And then we would have a perfect situation because you would have low fees, but you'd be properly funded with faculty. We could give you all the education that you deserve, and still keep fees low. You always need to talk with a little bit of a joke, so this is my little joke with my bowl out, saying more, please. Use this with we will use it with the province, and I've also used it with the central administration. So that's where we are with I think this is right now. This is the second meeting.